we're obviously 4 months away from the NFL season. There's a lot that can change between now and today. But Blake, looking at the Niners' current running backs, right? You have to start off with obviously Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, third-round pick who they traded up for, Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell they picked in the 6th round, Wayne Gallman who they signed, who was a solid player for the Giants last year, JaMychal Hasty who showed a little bit of something when he was on the field. What do you think is going to be kind of the pecking order for this crowded running back room next year or at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to start from just go 1 and then just to 5. So my first one is going to be, I think, probably different than yours, but I'm going the guy they took in the 3rd round, Trey Sermon. And I could honestly see this going him or Mostert, and I'd be totally fine with either. This is more of just my preference if I was, ranking these guys and who I think is going to be the best for the system. But so Trey Sermon, obviously the Niners traded up to get him. So that means they clearly had their eyes set on him and really wanted him. He played in a scheme or ran in a scheme when he was running. That's kind of the zone or wide zone. And he can do that really well, obviously. I think he had 300 yards against Northwestern or some ridiculous amount where he just actually killed them. So that's cool. But the main reason why I think Sermon is the guy is what's important in the wide zone is being able to have the explosiveness and burst to actually hit the hole that's there. And Trey Sermon has elite burst. Now, he did have a slower 40 than most would have thought. Maybe his breakaway speed and long stride speed is not the best, but I think his burst and just pure explosion is insanely good, and that's what's going to matter for the Niners. Mostert's more of the home run guy. I don't know if Sermon will be that due to his lack of long distance speed, but I have Sermon and then Mostert. And then we go to the guy they just picked up, Wayne Gallman. More of just an all-around type of back. I don't think brings one skill that's just, super elite, but he's just pretty good at everything. And then after that, I would go Jeff Wilson Jr. and Elijah Mitchell.
Okay, so you think they're keeping 4 running backs, and those are the 4 plus Kyle Juszczyk?
I listed 5, I think.
Oh, right. You had Gallman too, right? My bad. So you think they're keeping 5 plus Kyle Juszczyk? That's just your guess for right now.
Yeah.
So this is a really hard position to rank. I actually agree with you 100% in terms of Trey Sermon, right? He has incredible burst and he has incredible vision to see the cutback lane. He has really good contact balance. All these really important things to be a really good running back. I just think that Raheem Mostert, when he plays, has been such an effective player for the 49ers. I think that Niners fans tend to overrate how good he actually is, but you can't overrate the effect he has. He's been a very good player when he plays for the 49ers. So I'm going to keep him as the one guy in terms of the running back depth chart, in terms of my guess. Now, do I think Trey Sermon probably deserves to get more carries than Raheem Mostert? Yeah, I think Raheem Mostert's touches need to be limited just because he's so explosive where you need to get him the ball 10 to 12 times every game. You have to, and he'll create big plays. But clearly he's shown that his body, he runs high, right? And it's difficult for him to take on that level of punishment to be a running back number 1. So I would go Mostert 1. Everything that you said about Trey Sermon, I 100% agree with. I would have him at 2 in the running back depth chart. I also have Wayne Gallman at 3. Okay. I thought Wayne Gallman was good for the Giants last year, and I think he brings a little different element than Jeff Wilson. I think Jeff Wilson's a little redundant actually with Trey Sermon.
Yep.
And so that's why I would go Wayne Gallman at 3. Then I would go Jeff Wilson at 4. And then truth be told, I haven't watched a lot of Elijah Mitchell. So I don't want to rank him over JaMychal Hasty without that, but it would be between those 2 for the 5th guy. But I think Mostert and Sermon are a clear head above the other 2. Although Wilson, obviously, he's a fan favorite. He's a stud when he plays and all of that. I just think stylistically, him and Sermon are a little redundant, with Sermon just being the more gifted, physically gifted player.
Agreed. And I think Wayne Gallman was actually a really good pickup, just overall as a guy who, he was able to stay healthy. He was able to consistently produce behind a really not so good Giants O-line. And, they did have, Saquon obviously got injured and stuff, but having someone who's been consistent and has shown he can play, over 10 games or however, I think he definitely played over 10 games. He played a lot of games last year, started because Saquon got injured week 1 or 2. So I just think the fact that something that the Niners have not had is a healthy running back in a elongated period of time, and Gallman showing that he has been able to do that is why I'd probably have him at 3. And he's just solid. He's nothing crazy. He's not gonna, be the fan favorite that maybe Jeff Wilson is, but he's a really complimentary back as the number 3 guy.
Yeah, that's what I think he is. Like, he's not like overly explosive. He's not a home run hitter or anything, but he's just a really solid, consistent running back. And I think where he's a little different from Jeff Wilson is also kind of a bruising one-cut style runner. I don't think Wayne Gallman is even really a one-cut runner. Jeff Wilson's probably a better fit, honestly, for the wide zone than him. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think that, again, it just comes back to skill set. Like, look at the Patriots, right? It's not about having 5 elite backs. It's about having 5 backs who could do totally different things, right? Like, Rex Burkhead was kind of their short guy and power running back. Sony Michel was kind of their all-around back. James White has been their receiving back for years. Forever. So just like that, right? Mostert's the explosive running back. Sermon's kind of the grinder, but he also has a ton of burst and can hit the hole really hard and all of that. And then Gallman's kind of that all-around kind of guy who can do a couple of different things. But that's just my take on it. I don't know. It's seemingly the NFL isn't that high on Wayne Gallman because he went through like 4 weeks of free agency without being signed. But I really think he wasn't that bad of a player. I really don't.
I mean, he averaged like 4 yards a carry. That's pretty solid. And he was consistently like good enough to where the Giants didn't feel the need that he wasn't completely worthless, basically. And he held his own. He wasn't, obviously Saquon Barkley, but you could do a lot worse than Wayne Gallman in the NFL.
Right. He was competent. He was very competent. And someone's asking, it's not that we have Mitchell making or not making the 53. Right now, the way we look at it is that Sermon and Mostert are clear 1 and 2, and then Wilson, and I personally think Gallman. Now, again, full disclosure, I haven't really watched Mitchell that much. That's on my to-do list for later in the summer. So maybe I'll watch Mitchell, and all of a sudden he will be number 2 on this list or something like that. But right now, the way I see it is that I feel like Wilson also is right there in the conversation. I just think Gallman's a little more diverse in his skill set. But if you're talking like actual players, like it's Mostert, Sermon, Wilson, and then I like Gallman. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for liking Gallman.
Yeah, I'm interested to see because the Niners always shuffle running backs. Like that is a guarantee. And who's ever back there does a good job because I think Shanahan has a really good scheme. And, obviously the run blocking for the Niners is exceptional. You slander Mike McGlinchey all you want, but he's a really good run blocker. So you have 5 guys on the O-line that I would say are probably above, at least at minimum average, and some are elite run blockers. So that's always really nice for any running back. And then Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good blockers for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I 100% agree. So that's our early predictions, I would say, for the running back depth chart for the Niners. This probably is subject to change, but now, before camp, before anything, before knowing anything, in my opinion and Blake's opinion, that's kind of the order that we see it for now.